What's up guys, Simon here. In this video, the great stock market collapse has started, obviously caused by Russia invading Ukraine, setting off some of the biggest falls in the global stock market, and on top of that, the cryptocurrency markets. I've done some videos warning that the stock market was in trouble, and this final push with Russia invading Ukraine to take over large amounts of regions, and in fact possibly the whole country in Ukraine, to overthrow their government and put a government that they want in place, could potentially harm the United States, our gas prices, the stock market, cryptocurrency, everything. When this happened, I was watching the stock market tumble and our cryptocurrency tumble. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and discuss what it means for the stock market, what's going to happen in 2022, what you should potentially do with your investing, and if you should be panicking.
I'm freaking out, man.
The great stock market collapse is probably going to happen. Let's get into this video. Okay, so unless you've been living under a rock or on Instagram watching food videos, you've seen what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. Russia has been planning to invade Ukraine for several weeks, if not close to a month, and the intel of the United States has been warning us that a possible Ukrainian invasion is coming. What we did not know was that President Putin was going to take more land than the supposed rebel-fought regions of the eastern side of Ukraine neighboring Russia. It was a full-on invasion with bombing all over Ukraine. As soon as that happened, the stock markets all over the world collapsed. The US stock market collapsed, Russian stock market collapsed. Pretty much any stocks or any investor confidence has been drawn out to the point where people are worried of what's going to happen. Cryptocurrency has also took a big hit. Bitcoin was down near its low 30s of thousands of dollars per Bitcoin. Dogecoin at one point hit 10 cents, which was incredibly low from what we've seen it at 75 cents. It was just a total collapse. And what's going to happen potentially going forward could really mean where we will be in 2022 with the stock market. Now, before you freak out, you should know several things. First, it is very unlikely that the United States will get involved in the Russia-Ukraine war.
While I will not send American servicemen to fight in Ukraine, we have supplied the Ukrainian military with equipment to help them defend themselves. We provided training and advice and intelligence. We are not seeking direct confrontation with Russia.
It would mean a lot of possible casualties of troops. The United States recently just got out of the Afghanistan war. They don't want to go back into a war. It's not going to drag us particularly into a war. Another thing that could possibly happen to further collapse the stock market is the fact that China might invade Taiwan. This would be a really good opportunity for China to move on Taiwan, which it has been disputing for over a year, or years I should say, to make sure that Taiwan is part of People's Republic of China, which Taiwan does not want to do.
I think that there's no immediate concern. At the same time, I think that President Tsai Ing-wen of Taiwan, her statement yesterday on Wednesday, basically saying that we need to ramp up our defenses, was also a way of signaling to the public that Taiwan is, of course, watching the situation and very alert.
But this would be a great time for the Chinese president to go into Taiwan and attempt to take it back, further causing damage in the stock markets today. Now, with Russia invading, we could be certain that we are pretty much in the beginning of a potential collapse. We're not at the end of it. They're not going to pull back until they reach what they wanted to reach in terms of goals, which is overthrow the Ukrainian government. If you guys don't know history between Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine used to be part of Russia, part of the USSR, then they broke off, and ever since, the last 3 presidents of Ukraine were basically pro-US except for one. However, current president in Ukraine right now, he's very pro-NATO or pro-European Union, and that bothers President Putin of Russia because he wants Ukraine to be part of Russia again. I believe the government in Russia really wants to resume what USSR used to have, and they don't want a NATO country right next to them, bordering pretty much their allies as well as their continent. With the stock markets, we've seen some crazy drops. A lot of people are panicking. One thing that I feel like a benefit to this happening with stocks or currencies in general is I believe the Federal Reserve will not be raising the interest rates anymore. Everybody's going to have to ride out and see where this goes. What's going to happen? If there is a peace agreement that's reached between Russia and Ukraine and China does not invade Taiwan, which it could potentially do in the next several weeks, we could probably see stocks go through the roof and back up to the highs that they were, if not higher. Just because of the fact that inflation is still happening, the stock market has been hit by this war. However, if the war all of a sudden stops with a peace agreement, we could potentially see a bump in the stock market. And because of the time right now of what's happening, I don't see the Federal Reserve raising the interest rates on basic home purchases, etc., just for the simple fact that they don't know what's going to happen as well with the inflation, the recession, or the stock market today. So as an investor, of course, check with your financial advisors. I'm not one. But as an investor, I am going to be holding off. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to go ahead and throw my hands in the air and go, oh, damn. Although it was tough to see a lot of my stocks, a lot of my cryptocurrency falling to lows that I've never seen before, it was scary. However, I did not panic. I did not sell. The market's kind of resumed. However, it's not over. We could be in for a long haul. Some of the issues that are happening because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, it will lead to is higher gas prices. We are already at all-time highs. In fact, in California, you could find gas for near $6 a gallon, which is the highest in the United States. And guess what? Gas prices are going to go ahead and continue increasing because Russia supplies the United States gas or oil in the millions of barrels. I think it's something around 700 million barrels a year, millions of barrels a month. And if they stop, that means the supply shortage of oil is only going to make sure that the gas prices are going to go through the roof. In fact, WTI or the crude oil market has reached over $100 a barrel. This is the first time since the last recession, and this is incredible. So it's only going to go higher if there's a shortage of supply. Now, Germany didn't do anything to prohibit Russia from coming in because they get 70% of their oil or gas from Russia. Russia is one of the biggest gas or oil providers to countries. They are even trying to expand on that by partnering with Pakistan and other countries to make sure that most of their gas is not just supplied to the European Union or Europe. So overall, gas and oil can significantly increase. It has already been going up, and it could potentially reach such a level where it's going to impact our economy. Now, it's not just going to impact you driving from point A to point B. It's going to impact everything that you purchase.
What does every factory need? Trucks. They make stuff, they've got to ship it. It's a must.
Anything that needs to be delivered to the local supermarket store needs to be air freighted, shipped, etc., ground shipping. All of that's going to go up. So what it's going to happen is we're going to have potentially an inflation mixed with some of the highest gas prices that we've seen, and that could hurt the markets. It will hurt your pockets. It's going to hurt you putting food on the table, and it could potentially be a disaster, which is very scary. So unless things ease up, we could really see some hard times, specifically just financially. I don't think the United States of America will get into a war. As mentioned, NATO will not get into a war with Russia, and Russia will not invade potentially any of the NATO countries just because of the fact that the NATO and all of the countries part of NATO will have to go against Russia. Ukraine happens to not be a country part of NATO. They didn't qualify, but also they didn't qualify because NATO was afraid that if Ukraine did get in a situation with Russia, it would be the start of World War III. So we're not going to have a World War III. I know someone in Ukraine, they have heard shelling, they have heard bombing, but they're not panicking. And although there is a mass exodus out of Ukraine, people are pretty much stuck in traffic. They're sitting back and they're kind of used to what's happening, although not used to what's happening in major cities like Kiev or Odessa. The Russian forces have surrounded pretty much Ukraine from almost all sides except from Poland. Russian sources are coming in from Belarus, Crimea, obviously from the Russian side that borders the Ukrainian side, and it's not a good look. It's not a good situation. It could potentially get worse, and it could potentially hurt the stock market, not only here, but around the world. So traders will need to shake off the Russian invasion, reverse the stock market. Remember, there's also reporting. Certain companies are going to do really well in their quarterly reporting that's going to be coming up, and because of that, I feel like the stock market has some winners that they could pick from to rebound from some of the losses that you're going to incur. There are companies out there, you could check them out, that are going to have really good quarterly reportings. With those quarterly reportings, their stocks typically are going to outperform the other companies that are in trouble in the first quarter or missed expectations. As an investor, I would probably ride this month out. I would not make any big bets on pretty much anything. I would not sell off in a panic. I would see what is happening with the market, where the Russian invasion of Ukraine goes, how far, and if the involvement of Russia in Ukraine continues to get worse, then the stocks will continue to get worse. However, if it's resolved and they achieve what they wanted to achieve in the Ukrainian invasion, I feel like the stocks are going to sharply reverse and go right back up because of inflation. The Feds are going to continue raising the rates to curb that inflation. However, right now, everything seems to be at a stalemate. I feel bad for the people of Ukraine. I definitely don't want to see any wars going on or anything like that. And for those that don't know, Ukraine has a lot of Russian natives and Russian-speaking natives, particularly on the east side of Ukraine, just because it used to be a former Russian country. So there are people on both sides, and it's a really difficult conflict to resolve that's been ongoing for many, many years. So it's not new. And finally, it's hit its point where I feel like could potentially destabilize a lot of economies. And if it's not resolved in a quick manner, we're going to have a wild ride in 2022 with the stock market, with futures and everything in between, where you could potentially be financially impacted, not only from everything that's going on around us, but also from the decisions that the leaders make, not only in America, but other countries as well. So hold on to your stocks. Be careful, be patient, make sure you do your research on the quarterly profits, check with your advisors, and hopefully we ride this wave out in 2022 where we could finally resume good business and start making even more money. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. As always, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys here in the next video. Comment below, what are your thoughts on the stock market with what's going on today?